As children, we're always told what is right and what is wrong. However, the moral concept of justice isn't so black and white. For Light Yagami, justice was a mere scapegoat for his ambitions of becoming an untouchable god. While Death Note presents justice in a stark, clear-cut way, it remains a theme we continue to question in our everyday world. But at its core, the series explores the complex and often contradictory nature of justice. Death Note, an anime created by Tsugumi Oba and Takashi Obata in the fall of 2006, follows Light Yagami as he discovers an object that shatters his mundane reality, the Death Note. With the power of the Death Note, Light becomes the arbiter, the person who passes judgment onto anyone he deems to be evil. But over time, even his concept of justice became blurred. It wasn't to seek justice against criminals, but also to prevent anyone from dethroning him as the god of the new world. This raises a profound question. Can Light's actions truly be considered ethical? Or is his justice corrupted by power? This brings us to the question of, is killing criminals ethical? The ethical dilemma of killing criminals is also central to the discussion of capital punishment. While the death penalty won't force a criminal to have a mysterious heart attack after 40 seconds, it's something that can be equivalent to Light's way of punishing criminals. Death Note, through dramatic and supernatural ways of capital punishment, shows just how easy one's sense of justice can be corrupted by absolute power. Light sets out with a seemingly noble goal of eliminating crime through judging criminals. But those noble goals became tainted with blood, making him no better than the criminals he judges. While the people Light targets through the use of the Death Note by heart attack were criminals, his use of the Death Note blurs the line between justice and murder, as he assumes the authority to decide who gets to live or die. This power to control life and death, which held by any individual, can be corrupted by personal motives, bias, and flawed judgment, distorting the very concept of justice. Japan and the United States are the only 2 out of 7 major industrialized nations that still practice capital punishment, a policy that raises significant ethical, moral, and practical concerns for many human rights organizations. While the use of the death penalty in the United States has gradually declined, this trend does not mean that the majority believe executing criminals is an ideal form of justice. Critics argue that capital punishment diminishes the value of human life. In Death Note, Light's actions illustrate just how he becomes desensitized to killing, executing people with just a few strokes of a pen. This desensitization leads to the deaths of many innocent people, including those caught in the crossfire as they attempt to obstruct Light's so-called justice. This highlights one of the real-world criticisms of capital punishment: the irreversible risk of sentencing innocent people to death. Light killed many innocent people trying to uphold justice, but this is really all due to the fact that his sense of justice has become corrupted by power and greed. While many opposed Light's actions, there were also those who believed his methods were justified. These supporters would be similar to the people who defend capital punishment. This belief is overall rooted in the idea that capital punishment upholds justice by punishing individuals convicted of heinous crimes, but punishing criminals to the death penalty can do more than just ensuring the criminals deliberately receive punishment. By executing criminals publicly and anonymously, Light instills fear in those who would consider committing crimes, briefly lowering the crime rate. Yet this atmosphere of fear doesn't create a true sense of just or peaceful society. Rather, it drives people to hide their true motives, complying out of self-preservation. This creates a society controlled by a dictator who eliminates anyone who opposes. But even the threat of capital punishment or judgment by Kira cannot eradicate crime entirely. According to the University of Pennsylvania Department of Criminology, there isn't any evidence to suggest that the death penalty deters crime. While crime rates may decrease temporarily, it won't snuff out it completely. This is because crime is not a simple black and white issue. It often stems from a deeper social problem within society. And I'll touch on crime as a societal issue in another video. Overall, Light's actions illustrate just how easily the lines between between justice and tyranny can blur. But were Light's actions truly ethical? Similar to the question on capital punishment, it lacks a simple answer, as perspectives on justice vary from person to person. L believes that Kira is a murderer who uses justice as justification for his ambitions of becoming a god. But Misa believes Kira was her savior. Kira judged the person who killed her parents. Each character's perspective reflects a unique understanding of justice, making it a very complex and often contradictory subject. And if you found it interesting how Death Note explores the complex nature of justice, you may also be interested how Dandadan relates to Buddhist philosophy.